Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter-Hines with Living the One Light. Okay, this video, I'm going to talk about the new moon in Capricorn happening on January 18th, 2026. I'm really excited about sharing these things with you. Yeah, there's been some really beautiful things coming through in my praying that I'm going to talk about and share with you here. And also, I'm going to show you. I don't usually do this in my videos like this, but today I'm going to show you some of the some of the slides from my Astrology 101 course regarding Capricorn and Saturn um because yeah, Capricorn and Saturn both tend to have a reputation that I find really unhelpful, and reframing our concept of both of them and then therefore our relationship to both of them honestly, in a way, feels like it is kind of a key to changing the world. This sounds really extreme, but I actually feel that way. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to show you some things that maybe are new to you or not new to you. Um, those of you, obviously, in my astrology courses, this is not new to you, but yeah. Okay. So, yes, so this is a new moon at 28 degrees of Capricorn. I will bring up the chart for a second. And I'm also going to channel. There's something wanting to come through. I have a kind of a sense of what's wanting to come through, but I never really know until it actually comes through. Okay, so, but first of all, here is the chart of the new moon. And there are many components that are really interesting about this chart, but I'll say some of the basics. So, first of all, here's the moon and the sun together in the sky from our perspective at 28 degrees 43 minutes of Capricorn, so at the very end degrees of Capricorn, um, and quite close to Pluto and Venus. And Mars and Venus just met with each other with behind the sun from our perspective. So in their superior conjunction or exterior conjunction behind the sun from our perspective on Earth. And and Venus is now moving on, has starting to separate from Mars, and it has by this point will have entered Aquarius and will be getting very, very close to Pluto. Um, and so this whole grouping of the new moon with Venus and Pluto is really, really strong, but also in there it is Mars, Mercury, and Estrella. Very strong. This whole group is all very close to each other. So I want to just talk about Estrella for 1 second. Estrella is the goddess um, in Greek mythology who was the last of the immortals to leave the earth after the Golden Age. That's how the story goes. And so yeah, again, the story goes that she was really dedicated to being here on Earth to help the humans. But during that, and during the Golden Age, there was this Golden Age, but then as the Golden Age ended, um, there became violence and strife and all kinds of difficulty on the Earth. And so one by one, the gods started leaving the Earth. But Estrella was really committed to staying here, so she stayed the longest of any of them. But finally, she also gave up and left the Earth and became the constellation of Virgo, or the goddess constellation, or the priestess constellation, whatever you want to call it. She's one of many, many, many goddess figures that are associated with the Virgo constellation. And yeah, and in particular, I very strongly associate her with Spica, the star, which actually is 24 degrees of Libra, which is squaring this new moon too, now that I think of it. Interesting. Um, yeah, but then the other really important part about Estrella is then the story goes that when she returns to the earth, she will bring back the golden age. So whenever I see Estrella really strong in a chart or in a transit like this, then this whole reality that we really are Estrella. We are here to bring back the golden age. That's what we're doing right now. It was very, very, very alive. So this new moon absolutely has that Estrella signature very powerfully. She's conjunct the moon and the sun within 5 minutes. Um, 1 degree has 60 minutes, and this is five. It's like practically precisely conjunct the new moon. So very strong Estrella energy. Um, and then also the new moon is trining Uranus. So really bringing in an element of, I would say, grounding in with the intelligence of the divine and the intelligence of the divine as ourselves as Earth, Uranus in Taurus, um, and some other things I will say in a minute about that. But then the last part I want to point out about this chart is that, no, sorry, two more things. The new moon is also this whole grouping in Capricorn is also squaring Chiron in Aries who just went direct. Chiron just went direct at 22 degrees of Aries. So I see so much in this chart about the potential for healing, especially with regard to the divine feminine and the divine masculine and our inner divine feminine, our inner divine masculine. There's so much I could say about that. Um, but my guides kind of want me to take this in a slightly different direction. So, but just to note that's really prominent here. And then the very last thing I will say is that also at this time, Saturn and Neptune are both still at the very end of Pisces. They are both about to enter Aries, and they're going to meet at that 0 degrees Aries point on February 20th. But they're both sextile sextile the new moon. And of course, Saturn rules Capricorn. So in other words, this Saturn energy is particularly alive, like extra, extra alive in this chart. Okay. And now I want to show you one other. Okay. So I'm going to bring up for you a few slides. So this now is an image of the moment of the new moon, um, or the day of the new moon from Solar System Scope, which is a free app you can get on your computer. And it was tricky to show you Pluto and everything else at the same time. So basically what you can see here is here's the Earth. Jupiter is back here on the other side of the Earth. And then there's the sun. And then right behind the sun is Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then Pluto all lined up, right? So you can see how Venus right here has moved a bit past Mars because it moves faster than Mars. And Mars is still coming along and is going to line up with Pluto in the next few days, couple of weeks. But Venus is pretty much lined up with Pluto at the time of this new moon. And yeah, and then right in line with the Earth and the moon, our moon and the sun, etc. Okay, so you can see this lineup of this powerful lineup at the time of this new moon. And I think it's really important to think about what's actually going on in space, and the configuration of these beings at any given moment. Because, yeah, I'm going to say some things about what's been coming through for me in my praying regarding planets at the time when they're behind the sun from our perspective. So I'll come back to this in a minute. But the other thing I wanted to show you on these slides, this is again part of the Astrology 101 stuff that I do there. And that course is going to be starting again on March 4th if you're interested. I actually have, at the end of this video, I'll talk more about the course. My guides had me cut the price in half, actually less than half what it used to be. yeah, so I'll say more about that later because they just, yeah, they want to make it ex as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So I just cut that price yesterday. Um, yeah, anyway, I'll say more at the end. Okay. So the seasonal sign of Capricorn, right? We have this idea that it is associated with all kinds of, I don't know, restriction and things that are old and top-down authority figures. You know, Saturn and Capricorn both get this kind of a reputation, and things feeling stuck or all of that kind of thing. And that can be true, but I would say the truth of Capricorn and Saturn are really important to remember. And there's so many layers to all of this, and I'll just touch on some of it here. But so Capricorn is associated with the sea goat, among other things, and and in its, I would say, highest expression or most healthy expression for me, Capricorn is actually about the reality that we are the wisdom of existence, that, it's our inner elder. Um, and another really important association with Capricorn, not only with the sign of Capricorn, but the Capricornus constellation, which is overlaid by the sign of Aquarius. So right now, Pluto has entered Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius, but it's actually entering the constellation of Capricornus. Okay. So even when things are in the sign of Aquarius, they still have this Capricornus kind of energetic to them, which I think is really interesting to combine the sign of Aquarius with this archetype of Capricornus, because Capricornus and Capricorn, and actually Saturn in its own way, all actually have an association with abundance, nurturing, um, mother's milk, that kind of a thing. Because one of the associations with the Capricornus constellation is actually the horn of Amalthea. So Amalthea was the goat who nursed Zeus during his infancy, and um, and the horn of Amalthea, which is some part of what's, one of the depictions of the cornucopia um, image, is that it was a magical horn said to be capable of producing endless amounts of any food or drink desired. In other words, it's like abundance beyond abundance. It's the opposite of what we typically think of Capricorn being associated with as like things being um, less, what's the word? Things being restricted, right? It's the exact opposite of that. So that's really interesting to remember. So in the healthy form of Capricorn, actually, part of what I feel is that we slow down enough to the natural rhythms of Earth, because it's an Earth sign, the natural rhythms of Earth, and then that allows the true truth of abundance to flow, to arise. Um, and then similarly, another association with the Capricornus constellation or the Capricorn archetype is the Horn of Plenty. Um, and yeah, I mean the Horn of Plenty. So again, abundance, plenty, plenty, plenty. Um, the opposite, the opposite of what we typically think of. Okay. Um, okay, and then similarly for Saturn, let me get to that part. Um, so Saturn, we think of also as, top-down authority, taskmaster, timekeeper, yeah, authoritative ruling. Um, it's stereotypically we think, oh, I'm going to have a Saturn transit. That means something awful. It's been considered a malefic, so a bad planet. That is just so terrible. Um, and in reality, if you think about the astronomy of the planet itself, among other things, something really important about it is that it is a gas giant. So it is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, and it is so light that if there's a gigantic pool of water, and you could place Saturn into that pool of water, it would float. Saturn would float. So it's really actually a yin substance. It's a yin energy. It's very, very light. Um, and yeah, so again, the opposite of like harsh and uh blunt or something, right? It's not. It's very, very gaseous. Um, and similarly, Saturn in myth also gets very mixed up. So there are certainly aspects of the mythology that would reflect what we think of as that stereotypical Saturn archetype. But Saturn in its truth is a god of agriculture and again abundance. And there is this historic festival called Saturnalia, which is a festival celebrating Saturn, marked by feasting and gift giving. And that festival reflects themes of abundance and liberation. So, I mean, this image, right? This image again fits with that cornucopia um, image with Capricornus. And, what if we really switch switch our thinking about Capricorn, switch our thinking about Saturn to, wow, this is a place of abundance. This is a place of reaping what you sow. So I think in my experience with Saturn transits, often if a person has been out of integrity, then yes, often a Saturn transit could come along and say, whoa, stop. Right? It's about true wisdom. It's about limits and boundaries in the earth world that are in alignment with the divine and in alignment with natural, mm, the world of nature. So, so if we're out of alignment, you can imagine a very wise but very clear, like grandmother or grandfather figure saying, "Uh-oh, no, that's not going to work. You need to stop." Right? That absolutely could be a Saturn energy. But if we are in alignment and we've been really working consistently and toward the goal, toward the greater good, a Saturn transit can result in huge amounts of abundance. So we think of Jupiter transits as being about abundance, but actually Saturn transits, in my experience, also can be very definitely about major abundance and the truth of abundance, not abundance just like for the sake of, I don't know, money pouring down on your head out of nothing. It's more like, yeah, you've really put in the time. You were very intentional. You sowed those seeds. You took the time to water the seeds and nurture the seeds. You really honored the sacred slow in a sense. And and now the plants are showing that you cared. And now the abundance is overflowing. That is absolutely, I've seen that many, many, many times in my own life and in other people's lives. So, yes, so Saturn, again, if we think about that, like if we really come into our divine truth and our real integrity and the rhythms of ourselves as beings of Earth, then this is very likely the result, right? Like, or can be the result is just an overflowing abundance, but an abundance in balance, not an abundance like send me $1 million just because. Like that's not the energy here. Not that that wouldn't happen. I can't predict that, but yeah, that's not the point. Okay. Uh, and yeah, and just both of these images to me are very in line with how I think of the healthy Saturn energy and healthy Capricorn energy, right? Our inner elder, the inner grandmother, the inner grandfather. Um, okay. And there's so much more there. Another thing that we get into just for your information in the Astrology 101 course is the moons of all of the planets that have moons. So actually all of the planets other than Mercury and Venus have moons. And in astrology we don't talk about them, but they are amazing. So amazing. So I won't get into this super strongly right this second, but just to throw in there, Saturn has a gazillion moons and they are so cool. And yeah, if you're interested in learning about that aspect of astrology, which again doesn't get talked about in almost any astrology that I know about, then this course might be right for you. So, some of Saturn's moons are named Pan, Pandora, Atlas, Prometheus. Um, Titan, of course, is the big one. And then this one, Enceladus. If you're curious, look up Enceladus. Oh wow, it's amazing. It has water shooting out of its southern pole all the time. It's so cool. Yeah, really, really amazing. And then there are a whole set of moons around Saturn that are named after Inuit. They have Inuit names, Norse names, and Gallic names. And just, there's so much there. So, yeah. Uh, anyway, yes, so much I could say. Okay. All right. And I think that, yeah, those are all the slides I wanted to show you. So, yeah. Okay. Now, here's the other part. Here's what's been coming through in my praying that my guides are really wanting me to speak to, and then I will channel because I think they could probably explain it better than me. Um, and we'll see what wants to come through from them. Okay, here's the new layer that has come alive for me in my praying just in the last 2, 3 days about Capricorn, but also about this moment we're in on the planet, and also the opportunity when planets are on the other side of the sun from us. Okay, so I have to figure out how to put this in human words. One second. Okay, so one of the biggest messages in my praying currently is that a huge part of this time, this moment we're in on the planet, as we moved out of the time of great forgetting and now we're in the time of great remembering, one of the most important things, among many other things, is we're being held to remember who we really are, right? We're being held as those babies of new Earth that have just been born at that December 19th, December 21st kind of timing. This whole wave of us who are ready to really step in back into who we truly, truly are. And one of the beautiful things that I have been experiencing that also came through in the channeling that I did for the New Earth Sacred Leadership journey, that group. We had our first gathering on Wednesday, and you're still welcome to join if you feel called to join that and you haven't yet. But yeah, what came through in that channeling was that we were being held in a bubble of light, and this light streaming into that bubble was not only light, it was also the original codes of existence. So the codes of existence before time, before space, before there was even the Big Bang or the Big Breath, whatever you might conceive of, the moment of creation being created. These are the original codes before any of that. So the original codes of existence, the original codes of light, and the original codes of love. So you can imagine, you can even do this yourself, even if you're not part of that journey, right? Imagine yourself being held. We were lying actually on a bed of like magical flowers and leaves and things, surrounded by our spirit team. And then the whole circle of our spirit team and us lying there was held in this golden bubble of light. And then streaming into this bubble was those original codes of existence, original codes of light, and original codes of love. Okay. And in general, in the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, something like that, in my praying, those original codes of existence in particular are absolutely key. My guides are having me personally anchor into those every single day, over and over and over and over again. There's something really important about them because what I feel when I connect in with those original codes of existence, it's like though that energetic is helping to loosen up any and all of the structures of our bodies, our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, our etheric bodies, our energy bodies that are no longer serving, number one. And number two, maybe have gotten a little stuck because the out of balance version of Capricorn and Saturn energy, yes, absolutely can be a stuck feeling or a patterns of karma that can feel quite difficult or like ancestral. Saturn and Capricorn both have to do with ancestry, and so that can include ancestral trauma, but it can also include ancestral wisdom, both. Um, and and then I would say the Capricorn Cancer dance also has to do with DNA. Okay, so that's a whole kind of other topic, but but Capricorn and Saturn definitely for me are associated with the patterning and the structures that are in place, that have been in place, and that ultimately, on a healthy level, serve the exact present moment for being embodied as Earth, as the divine, as one. So the tricky part comes in when those structures get stuck. That's the only issue, right? The need for structure is a true need. So we need Capricorn, we need Saturn. We want that truth of them, like as the abundance and all of that, right? But the fascinating and beautiful thing about the relationship between Saturn and Uranus, and also similarly Capricorn and Aquarius, um, all of which are very alive at the time of this new moon, is that for me, the Uranian and Aquarian energy help to bring in the particles of light and those, you could say, those original codes of everything I just mentioned, um, to help the structures of our bodies, the structures of society, the structures of our world, to keep kind of breathing fresh new life into it, if that makes sense. So it's like, if you think of the structures, like Capricorn and Saturn energy being like dominoes that are arranged in a certain formation. For me, the Uranian and Aquarian energies are like an energy coming along with those dominoes and saying, okay, cool, but like keep changing as you need to. And don't change just for the sake of changing. But it's like if you're taking care of a baby or you're taking care of a child, you're not going to just stand there rigidly doing one thing, right? Hopefully, you're going to be really subtly attuning to the needs of the baby from moment to moment to moment to moment. And your whole body, your whole being is going to be attuning to the baby. So similarly, healthy Saturn and healthy Capricorn energy are constantly in subtle attunement and adjustment. And the Uranian and Aquarian energy can come in and go, yeah, just remember to keep attuning and keep aligning with the divine, the intelligence of the divine, right? Don't get stuck. So it's really, really beautiful when we have a combination of Capricorn and Aquarian energy together, which we do at this time of this new moon. And also we do just in general with the sign of Aquarius, because the sign of Aquarius overlays the Capricornus constellation, which is very cool. Um, and also this chart of the new moon is very alive with Saturn energy and Uranian energy. Okay, so there's that. Plus, the other thing I wanted to say, I want to come back to the image of how the planets are going to be aligned at the time of this new moon. Let me show you that again. Okay, so this is a slightly different angle from the picture we just saw a minute ago, although I might go back to that one too. But okay, so this is the lineup of the new moon on obviously the day of the new moon. So what you can see here is here's Earth. This teeny tiny little dot here is the moon. The moon obviously goes around the Earth. And at the time of this new moon, Mercury, where's my cursor? There it is. Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all, from our perspective on Earth, behind the sun. Okay, so people talk about the time when planets are behind the sun in all different ways, but one common way, for example, like Kalen Castell, Gemini Brett, oh, actually, I can't speak for Gemini Brett because I haven't heard, but I would guess he does. Sheridan Semple, lots of people, Jamie Lee, that whole group of astrologers think of the time when these planets are behind the sun, especially Venus, in particular Venus, as being the underworld journey. Like for Venus, it's the time when Inanna is in the underworld. Okay, that's just one perspective, and I think it's a beautiful perspective. And what's important to me is that we feel into what do we feel each individually in our own bodies, in our own selves about anything really, but including this. What does it feel like when these planets are behind the sun? So, something that came alive for me in my praying yesterday morning was, if we really go into our bodies, and again, this is something I do in the Astrology 101 course, we travel to be with the planets. We actually can even become the planets themselves, and we go on their journey around the sun, in particular Mercury, Venus, and Mars. We do that with. But we travel to be with the planets so we can have our own relationship with them, and they can speak directly to us or as us, through us, that kind of thing. Really, that feels super key to me, that we deeply honor these beings as alive, conscious beings, because they are, and we let them speak for themselves, and we don't project onto them an idea that we think might be true. We really give them a chance to show us their truth in that moment for us, right? And it might be different for each person, which is perfect. Okay. So that's a huge, huge value set of mine. So for me, what came alive for me yesterday, was my prayers suddenly showed me. I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't like trying to be with these planets or anything. I wasn't even thinking about the planets necessarily. But suddenly my guides showed me, oh, wow. Okay, so if you are, let's say, Mercury or Venus or Mars or whoever, and you're moving around your journey around the sun, and you're now in this time where you're opposite the Earth. So you can't see the Earth, right? Because it's behind the sun. Um, in a sense, what came alive for me was that possibly part of what is possible, the opportunity available in that timing is that these planets suddenly they have access to the whole cosmos. I mean, they always do. All of the planets, all cosmic beings have access to the whole cosmos all the time because that's just how it works. But it's like if they're in a relationship with Earth, which they all are, they're all in a relationship with everything. When they are now behind the sun from the perspective of Earth, my guides were showing me at that time in particular, more than other times maybe, have access to those original codes of existence, those original codes of light, those original codes of love. And then, and so it's like they're downloading it, right? And then the sun, which is a star, which is a being of light codes, that's literally what a star is, um, in its own way can be transmitting that to Earth, to the moon, to the Earth, to us. And at the same time, when these planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, etc., any planet comes around the sun, or actually, wait, sorry, Mercury and Venus move slower than the Earth, although Venus moves almost the same speed as the Earth, but they're both slower than the Earth. So when they come around the sun, they come between the Earth and the sun because their orbits are between the Earth and the sun. And that is when we perceive them as going retrograde. But in reality, and that's true, that is when they are retrograde. But when any planet is quote unquote retrograde, it actually means that they're over on this side of the sun with the Earth. They're with the Earth. So in the case of Mercury and Venus, in the case of Mercury and Venus, the retrograde time is when Mercury or Venus come between the sun and the Earth. In the case of all the other planets, Mars and outward, it's actually the time when the Earth, because the Earth moves faster than they do, it's actually the time when the Earth is coming between that planet and the sun. Okay. But bottom line, when a planet is retrograde, it means that it is over on the it is now with the Earth. And so in a sense, what my guides were saying is you could think of this like when the planets are on the other side of the sun, they're open to all of existence. They're open to those original codes of everything. And they can transmit that to us because there is no time and there is no space. And but also there's this gigantic star in between us and them. And that star, deeply is in love with everything. We came out of the sun. We came out of the star of the sun. That's the current astronomical theory of how the Earth was formed, how our moon was formed, how many of the planets were formed. So uh, we were birthed out of the sun, and I feel when I connect with the sun, I just feel such powerful love for us. So it's like you can imagine Venus, Mars, Mercury lined up behind the sun, and then the sun is so in love with us, and it's transmitting those light codes to us of those original codes of existence, those original codes of light, and those original codes of love, right? From these planets. And then later on, those planets will move around to the time where they go quote unquote retrograde, and we'll be able to be in receiving those codes in another way and in dialogue and relationship with them in another way. Okay. Um, yeah. So again, I don't like proclaiming that there's one truth about any of that, but just to share with you, that's what did come alive for me in my praying yesterday. And um, I felt that felt really, really beautiful and amazing to me. So if that resonates, great. If it doesn't, great. But I would more than anything encourage you to go deep into your own knowing, your own way of relating with these beings, because they are alive, conscious beings. They really, really are. Um, and yeah, I just feel so much more coming alive in our way of relating with them. And yeah, as we let go of having a fixed idea, again, like Saturn and Capricorn getting a little too stuck, once we let that go, all of life is going to be revealing things through each of us in ways I just don't even think we can possibly imagine. So this is one tiny example of that. Okay. Um, so how does that all relate to this new moon? I'm gonna let I have things I could say out of my mind, but I feel like I've been talking a lot. So I'm just gonna let the spirit world say the rest of whatever needs to be said. And yeah, I'll let them take over. And if you're interested in that Astrology 101 course, again, it's starting March 4th. I'll say really briefly, you go find out tons more information about it on my website, livingtheonelight.com. Like I said, I cut the price way down so that as many of you as possible can be part of it. There are two options for how to join. One is to just do the the full group parts, which includes all of the things I talked about with learning about the moons and coming into doing the channeled experiences of being with the planets themselves, um, learning this kind of more, I would say, sort of out of the box way of being with astrology, all the ways that I approach astrology, and really coming into your own knowing, your own inner wisdom about the planets, about the signs, about the constellations, etc. The zodiacal constellations. So we do seasonal signs. We do the zodiacal constellations. We learn about the planets and have our own relationship with the planets, channel to be with each of the planets, etc. All of that is part of that full group experience. So you can join that, and that's the one that where the price has gone way down. Okay. The other option is to do all of that plus small sharing circles. And in the small sharing circles, I look at your individual chart once a month, every month. And those small sharing circles are limited to 12 people each maximum. And there are two possible small sharing circles. So there's a total of 24 spots available in the small sharing circle option. So I have a guess those will fill up. So if you're interested in being part of the small sharing circles where I look at your chart once a month, I would recommend joining those sooner rather than later. The full group stuff, any number of people can join. And again, so it's starting March 4th. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, this will be the third year in a row I'm doing it, and it's been amazing. I have really, really enjoyed the groups who have done it with me before, and who are currently doing it with me. And I have learned a ton. I have changed really profoundly by being with these amazing, amazing souls, you guys, those of you in it, and yeah, people like you. So amazing, amazing community, amazing groups, and I'm excited to do it again. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to channel. Okay, hello and welcome everybody. We are so excited to be with you because, well, we always are, but this is just such an exciting time and it's such an exciting moment where thousands and thousands and thousands, if not millions of you are lining up to be the wisdom keepers of New Earth, of Earth in general, to come fully back, land fully back into those sacred leaders that you are of this planet in ways that you might consider quiet or louder, but you are lining up. You're so powerfully stepping in to who you are, all in different ways. And there is incredible support as you are doing this, and you are supporting each other. It is miraculous. It is amazing. And we are so grateful, so happy, so excited. So today we would love to offer you a kind of a ceremony along these lines that is perfect for engaging in any time, but absolutely, definitely is supported by the energies of the new moon and would certainly be a beautiful thing to be doing leading up to the new moon, on the day of the new moon, and beyond. Okay, so first of all, we invite you to take a long, slow, deep breath and imagine yourselves creating a massive circle all around the globe and kind of like a chain of beauty of the full presence of the ancient wise beings that you literally each are, the perfection of the divine that you literally each are. We invite you to imagine yourself as the elder wisdom keepers of existence that you are. So all of your gifts landing. And if you haven't done the channeling that we brought through Martha for the full moon in Cancer video, you might want to revisit that, because in that one we support you to be held to find all of your gifts as well, and to be with your inner child and your inner elder. So that's a great lead up to this one right now, but this is perfect in and of itself as well. Okay. So taking a long, slow, deep breath, we invite you again to imagine yourselves in a humongous chain of elder wisdom keeper beings all around Gaia, all around the world, all around Earth, holding this beautiful planet with the fullness, the totality of the wisdom that is you, landing fully present here and now. And then taking another long, slow, deep breath, we invite you to imagine and feel yourselves each holding in your hands whatever shows up. It could be infinite things, but we're going to describe it in a certain way. And if something different shows up in your hands, that's perfect. But if and as it feels right, you can imagine perhaps a golden, glowing orb of light being held in your hands. And this golden globe of light is like that sacred bubble of light that Martha was describing from a different channeling from the Sacred Leadership Group activation time. But this is a golden orb of light that you are holding in your own hands, each and every one of you all around the globe. And taking a long, slow, deep breath, we invite you to imagine that in the middle of this glowing golden globe of light, this orb of light is filling with those original codes of existence, the original codes of light, and the original codes of love. And imagine that you're holding this glowing orb or globe of light and these original codes, and it is dancing and alive, sort of like if there was a lightning bug or yeah, beautiful, magical, healing light glowing and dancing inside this bubble in your hands. And taking another long, slow, deep breath, we invite you to hold this globe of light with tenderness, with curiosity, perhaps, with your own gentle, powerful love. unconditional, self positive regard, be another way to put it. Maybe a sense of awe. Just notice whatever is coming alive for you. And then, when and as you feel ready, especially at the time of this new moon, we invite you all to be holding this, your own globe of light and sacred original codes. Hold it close to your heart. Be holding it and infusing it with love and intention leading up to the new moon. And then at the time of the new moon, you can imagine us all on the count of 3 saying 1, 2, 3, and imagine then gently lifting up the globe of light. And on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, releasing the codes, the light, sort of again like the lightning bugs or dragonflies. Imagine that light and all the codes, the original codes of existence, the original codes of light, and the original codes of love surrounding the globe, holding the whole planet Earth in these original codes, suffusing the Earth, the planet, every nook and cranny with the original codes of existence, the original codes of light, and the original codes of love. And then I invite you all to stay in a kind of sacred reverence and silence for a day, a week, however long you feel called, just even subtly inside yourself, to be in a kind of reverential noticing, honoring, holding the space as these original codes of existence, light, and love permeate and deeply re-become the earth and so much beyond, really all of existence. So in a sense, it's like reseeding the moment of now with the reality of the origin of remembering of what divine truth is. And of course, you can feel this also relevant for you as an individual, for your individual human earth animal body, your physical body, your emotional body, your etheric body, your energy body. And as the earth is held, you are held. As the cosmos is held, you are held. As existence and all of time and space are held, you are held. And this is such a beautiful, powerful moment. And we appreciate deeply exactly who you are, exactly however you are feeling called to show up in this moment, for this moment, in your precise, exact way, whatever that happens to be. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being dedicated to remember who you are, to be exactly who you are, and to deeply love precisely who you are, every nook and cranny of you, as the divine masterpiece, the divine elder, the divine child that is you. And so it is. Blessed be. Amen. Okay. Great. I enjoyed that. Um, Wonderful. Well, I would love to know how that felt for you. So the new moon is January 18th, which is a week from today. I'm recording this on January 11th. And yeah, so that's a Sunday for a lot of the world, it will be on Sunday. For some people, actually, a lot of people, it'll be on Monday. Basically, next Sunday or Monday, depending on where you are in the world, is the time of the new moon. And yeah, I would love to hear in the comments here in the video, anything that's coming alive for you around on any of this, but also in the free Living the One Light community, I would love, love, love for you to share in there what is coming live for you. Create a post in there, place for you to share, but you can share anywhere in there that you want. And if you haven't joined that free community, please do. It's again, free at my website, livingtheonelight.com. There's also the free Living the One Light app on Apple, Android, etc. And you can access the free community from there too, along with lots of other things. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. You can still join that sacred leadership activation journey if you want. It's such a powerful, beautiful group. I've never felt a group quite like this energetically before. I think it's because the people who have joined are so consciously dedicated to being you. I mean, we all are. You all are, but there's something very special about the group. And so if you feel called to be part of it, great. And if not, great. If you feel called to be part of the Astrology 101 group, great. Uh, yeah. And oh, and other thing, if you haven't signed up yet, if you haven't seen yet, I'm going to be holding another free gathering on February 2nd. This is going to be super special. It's going to be with Keone Hanalei, Julia Balaz, and Natasha Kealoha. So it's going to be a free gathering February 2nd, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, where co we're going to be present with Haumea. So the Kuiper Belt being Haumea, but the name Haumea obviously comes from a Hawaiian tradition, and I'll say more about that in other places, but it's really, really, really important to me that we redo our whole way of relating to the cosmos, to these beings of the cosmos, all the planets, all the asteroids, all the everything, but especially these ones, the beings of the Kuiper Belt, the beings of the Oort cloud that are, just recently being quote unquote discovered by astronomers and are being given names that are coming from various indigenous traditions and traditions other than the Greek and Roman. And it's awesome, so awesome that they're being named in these ways. And I feel really passionate that we need to have a way of being present with the beings themselves and learning from, hearing from people of those traditions themselves. Who is Haumea? What does Haumea mean? And so we have an incredible opportunity with Keone to learn from his traditional Hawaiian wisdom. And then Natasha also has a lot of her own ancestral and beautiful wisdom as well that she's going to bring in. And yeah, and Julia and I will be there really mostly to hold space and listen, deeply listen to their wisdom, to your wisdom, and to connect directly with Haumea herself, the Kuiper Belt being. So yeah, to come into a co-remembering of what is this being so that we don't label it and just sort of project onto it what, truth we think maybe it is, without letting it speak and without letting people of the tradition whose name it has speak as well. So that's the intention of this free Haumea gathering. I would love to have you there, and it's going to be really, really special. I know. It's not only that I have a feeling, I know it's going to be really special. So, yes, please join that and invite anybody you think may benefit. I think those are all the things for this minute. All right, wonderful. Oh, and I will also give a shout out to Julia Balaz, Julia, who's going to be part of the Hamea thing. Her beautiful community is starting their free summit tomorrow, the January 12th. And so it goes for a few days. If you haven't joined that, I'm not part of it, but Julia is, dear, dear, dear friend, beautiful being. Most of you know who she is, and she's just an amazing person. And her way of holding space for her community is her values, I would say, are very similar to mine. And her community is filled with love and beautiful intention and yeah, so I just want to support her and support you to connect with her work and the work of her community and yeah, enjoy that if that calls to you. So I'll put the link to that here as well. Again, I'm not involved at all. I'm not a affiliate or anything. Just love her and yeah, want to support her and yay, win-win. Okay. So, hey, now I think those really are all the things. Okay, wonderful. I will see you very, very soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And yeah, amazing new moon, amazing time we're in. We're all doing this together. Exactly that image, us holding hands around the globe and just being present in who we truly are. That's the most radical thing we can do right now. And here we are doing it. So, yay. All right. I'll see you very soon.